Please be seated. That's better, that's better. So, I spoke this morning about harmony. I spoke a lot this morning about the science of harmony. I want to spend this afternoon talking a bit more about the art of harmony, which is different. It's a different thing. It's less about how do things work and more about how do things feel. And the reality is, it's quite an abstract thing to talk about. It's much less about measurement and it's much more about intuition, if that makes sense. I want to talk a bit about why we feel stuff, not that I really know. And I want to talk a bit about my experience of learning harmony from more of an emotional perspective, because I think that's going to help join the dots to some of the more cerebral stuff that we were talking about earlier on. So the first thing to say, I suppose, philosophically about harmony, I said earlier on that harmony is about the relationship between things. A crucial thing to remember about harmony is it's not just about agreement. It's not just about things agreeing with each other or being in unison with each other. Sing a unison D. Just sing the note D. Right. And now sing the note furthest away from the note that you just sang. Okay. When I get to this side of the stage, I want you to sing D major, and when I'm on this side of the stage, I want you to be the furthest away from D major you can possibly be. Does that make sense? We're going to start with D major. Ready? Here we go. And. Let's hear it. Okay. And now, let's hit the exact opposite of D major. Ready? Go. Cool. That experience is life, right? That's life. That's how it feels to be human. We move between these different elements of people we love and things that we know about and places that we live in and ideas that we know about, and we constantly experience this dissonance and this consonance. Now, the thing that harmony does, which I think is one of the reasons why I love it so much, is it equalizes. It almost like radically incorporates both sides. So I'm out of breath. If as a harmonist you only play pretty chords, or nice chords, or chords that sound very consonant, like the harmonic series, like pure, beautiful chords like that, that is a very specific type of feeling. And on the other side of that whole thing is the dark, weird, twisted, dissonant, unexpected, strange things. And so a lot of the science of being a harmonist and being a musician and storyteller is figuring out the paintbrushes necessary to tell stories that incorporate both those dark, strange bits and also the bright, consonant bits, right? I've learned so much from playing around with chords. It sounds trite and maybe obvious, but I've learned so much from playing around with chords about how to lead my life better. Sing a D. That's a D, sing a D, sing a D, sing a D, sing a Did you feel it? Whoa, right? It's an amazing thing, isn't it? Like all of our emotional circuitry is activated by this. No one really knows why. And I could give all sorts of explanations, a bit like I did earlier on, about why some of these things feel balanced, why some of these things feel strong, or why some of these things feel familiar. But the reality is, it's quite mysterious. And yeah, there's a quote from someone, I actually can't remember who said it, but it's about dissecting a frog. Have you heard this quote? It's something like, explaining a joke is like dissecting a frog. You understand it better, and the frog dies of it. Right? It's a great quote. There's definitely an amount of that with harmony. Like if I try and explain, oh, the reason why this sounds good is this harmonic and blah, 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 it's like, that may be true. And nobody cares at the end of the day, right? You just have a feeling. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't be discerning and very curious about these things, as I'm deeply curious about these things. But I think it's important to remember that the reality of the experience of being a musician, the experience of being an audience member, is of these interesting abstract states that we move between when we think about chords and we hear chords and we kind of understand the spirit of things. So the feeling of being a D, I mean, there are so many Ds that one can be in this world. You can be this one, or this one, or this one. In fact, you be the D and I'll show you. This one. This one. That one. That one. So, what if we try and explain how some of these make us feel? I'm actually curious to hear how you feel they make you feel too. So, if you're this D, and I play this chord, what are some thoughts that come to mind? Like, what would you say about the way this chord feels? Just raise your hand. Yeah.
Rest.
Rest? Yes, you.
A place like home, but it's not exactly.
That's gorgeous. Oh, blowing my mind. Anybody else? Rest, a place feels like home? Yeah.
Mother.
Say it again.
Like motherless.
Oh, yeah, I love that. That's gorgeous. Anybody else? No, just shout words out.
Cheerful.
Delicate, cheerful, grounded. Okay, yeah. So there's a general sense that we kind of agree. It's a stable place, a place of resting, a place that feels like home, a place that feels familiar. You could, and I will now, story of my life. You could qualify this as feeling stable because it's quite low down on the harmonic series. It's only the third harmonic. The fifth feels natural to us. It's something we know about. You could also close your eyes and not do that and just feel it. I think as a harmonist, it makes sense to me that a fifth would feel some of those things. If I change the D that you are, and I say we're going to be this D, what are some thoughts or some ideas?
Somber. Brewing.
Yeah, brewing, somber, cautious. Uncertainty, yeah. Anyone? Yeah. Cantankerous. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, again, there's a general portion of the graph that people tend to be veering towards. Now, why do we feel those things? Again, it's kind of impossible to say. I would venture into my left brain and say, well, this feels dissonant. That's a dissonant interval, it's a tritone interval. But it's not like, we're not talking sort of like, or something like that, which is like pure dissonance. This is a mixture between dissonance and consonance, right? Special. And I would say that because we have a fourth here, which as we know is in the harmonic series is very pure, we have a minor third, which feels kind of open, and then we have a mixture of those pure things and then the crunchy things. It's a combination of those things. But again, the frog has just died, right? I think the reality of this chord is that it's just a sound. And the other reality is that the notes in this chord, I think they want to move. And this is a part of the uncertainty in some of the words I was hearing. Is, I think this note kind of wants to go there, right? And I think this note kind of wants to go there, right? And some notes want to stay the same. I was perfectly content to be what it is. Perfectly content to be what it is. And this one's obviously going down to there. So half the notes are staying the same, half the notes are changing. It's life. This is what goes on in life. We have some things that are constant and some things that aren't. But the experience of navigating these chords emotionally is kind of the whole point. Like if you think about yourself as being an emotional painter, your job is to create and hold tools with which you're able to kind of incorporate the whole spectrum of emotions. Now, I want to talk about something which I think of as alchemy. And alchemy is a weird word, and it means a particular thing like gold and stuff, which I'm not in the business of. But there is a part of it that I understand. And the idea with alchemy is that you can take one emotion, you can transform it into another, right? And this is very, very much something that I think about all the way through my life. It's like a process of like internal circuitry, emotions, traveling. And actually through music, we have an amazing opportunity to access and transform some of the things that we feel. And I want to show you something that I just thought was so cool. Actually, I think Ben Bloomberg showed me this like 10 years ago when I visited MIT, and he was like, have you heard about the Russell circumplex model? Has anyone actually heard of the Russell circumplex model by any chance? Yeah, I would have been quite surprised. Do we have the video screen active by any chance? I'm gonna throw something up onto that screen. Oh, that's the last class. Here's another circular image. Yeah. So, what is this, you might say? Well, this is, again, like with harmony, there's all sorts of ways of plotting the map and the way that it works and the balance of it all. This is one of my favorite maps I've ever seen for emotions and plotting them on a two-dimensional plane, which is obviously ridiculous and redundant, but also interesting for the point of discussion. We have a few axes here. Negative to positive, right? Active to passive. And what we get is this kind of plane where we get to plot emotions on a graph. So, for example, taken aback is on the negative side of the line. It's not entirely negative, but it's definitely not like by nature positive. It's also slightly passive, taken aback. It's like something that was outside your control affected you, right? We take feeling superior, for example, as something which is pretty high power, so kind of like active, and also quite positive, but not all the way there, because it's a feeling, not an action. And so what we get is these hybrid forms of emotion where we think about passive plus positive is conductive, which I think is a beautiful way of putting it. Negative to active is obstructive, right? It's going to get in the way. Negative to passive is a lower power control state, and then active to positive is a high power control state. Now, here's the thing. As a human being in this world, it's quite rare that you only feel one emotion at one time. It's a bit like this thing where people are like, oh yeah, happy. It's like, yeah, but there's more than that. Like, it's about the context, and it's about, there's more to it than that. I think that thinking about and studying emotion is a really good place to begin, actually, any creative process. And when I say studying emotion, I don't mean scribbling down notes necessarily. I mean experiencing them actively and consciously, and really like holding them and navigating them. And when I was talking about alchemy just now, I think the thing that I've come to realize as a human, and I'm still learning really how to do this, is actually about locating vitality and using vitality to power a transformation through the emotional kind of chain up into the more like high power and open states. Because I think that, like, for example, anger has a bit of a bad rep. Think, oh, angry, that's such a bad thing, causing all sorts of trouble. And sure, it can be pretty obstructive if you think about it. But I think of anger as a much more high-powered state than something like being numb, for example. If we're numb, we really have a harder time, or I have a harder time when I feel numb, activating the equipment to fire something. It's like you have to really mine quite deep for a state numb, for something. There's always a thread you can pull on, always. But something like anger can graduate from anger into like passion, you could say, for example. And passion can graduate into energy or joy even, right? And there are these trajectories that you can go on as a human as you expand and as you live your life that I think in my experience at best are transformative, right? You take one state and without feeling the need to change or ignore it or push it down or sort of repress it, you actually get to use the vitality of it to power the next period, like the feeling of growth. I think there are all sorts of different types of emotional release, and I don't feel particularly qualified to sit here and really talk about this as though I'm an expert. I'm really just speaking from my own personal experience, but like another distinct one for me is about sadness or tears, you could say. Sometimes you have tears and anger mixed together, but the thing of feeling emotional and weeping, for example, is a particular type of emotion that for me, it just has like a different texture inside my system, inside my body, and to pull on that thread, it ends up with a very different kind of release from something like anger or passion, you know. And I think the same can be true like when you want to be really disobedient. This is another one of my favorite ways of creating energy. It's like if I don't have any energy, just try like breaking something, breaking the rules of something. I don't mean like causing another person damage. I more mean just like flipping the scripts a little bit, doing something unexpected. And I can think of shows like live performances where I'm a bit on fumes, and I'm on stage and I'm thinking, I need to generate some friction here somehow, and then I just do something, like jump, you know, or play a thing I wasn't expecting, or an idea will come to mind, I'll just say it, you know what I mean? And obviously these things are good in moderation, but actually the right amount of irreverence can be so liberating, and I definitely felt this when I was at school. It's like you go through and you have these sort of militant teachers, and actually your freedom is in your unpredictability. You know, I was totally that kid. Side point, but I think in a world of AI, our freedom is absolutely in our unpredictability. You have a whole host of large language models, all of which are trained to do the most predictable thing next. And one of the things that differentiates humans from AI, amongst many, is that we're not the most efficient of beings, and the things that are most meaningful to us are not necessarily the things that are the most predictable to us. So I think that for whatever reason, we're coded this way, and I've always been really coded this way. So as a harmonist, it was one of my greatest joys to take a song or a melody and find the most kind of unexpected things to do with it. It would be like, okay, whatever you think I'm going to do the opposite of that, right? Now, here's something about intention and expectation that I was obsessed with as a child. Picture you're playing a game of soccer. Who's played a game of soccer before? Has anyone ever played soccer? Oh, you should play it. It's classic. In soccer, as we say, football in England, football. Yeah, you have what's called the football, which sits on a stage, a bit like this, but like this. Oh no, stuck to the floor. You have football, and then you have what's called the goal, and the goal is an area, like the screen. Okay. And your job is to kick the football into the goal, but there's a goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper's in the way to say, I'm not going to let you get, you know, yeah. So there's this thing called a penalty in soccer or football, and a penalty kick is when someone commits a really, like a crime, near the goal, which is really like bad. And as a sort of reprimand for this, the opposing team gets to kick the ball from 12 foot. I think it's 12 foot, am I right? 12 yards? Okay, sure. Something like 12 yards from the goal, which is like, you would imagine, it's pretty easy. Like, okay, it's really right at the goal. So it's just 1-on-1. Keeper and player. Boom. Whatever. So then these interesting things happen. All these interesting dynamics happen between the penalty taker and the goalkeeper. It's like this face-off. And here's what happens. Something was ringing. So, yeah. What? Was that you? Oh no, that's okay. So, if I'm the penalty shooter, and actually, who wants to be the goalie? Come. Okay. So, stand over. What's your name? Good to see you, Griffin. It's a pleasure. All right, let's do it. So, if I'm against you, Griffin, and I'm going to shoot a penalty, and I look here before I shoot, right? I'm going to go like this. Then you think I'm going to go that way, right? Bang, and I go left, and you think, oh, you saved it. So next time I take a penalty, I've learned from my mistake, and I decide to do a bluff, right? Call a bluff. So now I'm going to look to Griffin's right, but actually I'm going to shoot to Griffin's left, and Griffin is screwed. But the next time we have a penalty shootout, Griffin's figured me out. It's like, okay, I know this kid. This guy's bluffs. So now I know if he bluffs me, I'll know. So I get to, whatever. But I'm ahead of Griffin. So actually, I look left, thinking Griffin will think I'm going to shoot right, but in fact, I end up shooting left. This is what we call a double bluff. So I shoot left, and I shoot my left, and Griffin goes to his left, and I score a goal. Now, this interaction is really sort of interesting because it's completely happening in our minds. It's like a totally psychological thing. It's about what we perceive is going to happen. So Griffin knows things about me from maybe like watching penalties I've taken before, or like knowing me as a person or whatever, and can potentially predict what I'm going to do. Now, it's theoretically possible that Griffin is on such a high level, and I'm on such a high level, that I look left, for example, I look left thinking Griffin will know that I'm looking left because that will make him go right, so he goes left, but I in fact go right? So this is triple bluff, and it goes on and on and on. Griffin, thank you so much. That is the demonstration complete. You're the best, dude. Thank you. Now, is there a visual that comes to mind for this? Anyone?
Chess.
Chess, but a visual though. Princess Bride. Well, I have an idea for a visual. Right? Now, I've always kind of believed this. Bluff levels are like harmonics. And the further you go into the zone, the fainter they get. Right? They get slightly quieter, slightly fainter, slightly more difficult to perceive. You can, in theory, isolate individual things and be like, oh yeah, that is possible. But you never perceive it off the bat, right? So, for whatever reason, like this absolutely fascinated me. And the process of, in a way, like doing what we do as musicians or performers is a little bit about expectation and how to defy it and how to do it in a way that feels satisfying. And again, another useful analogy is making a joke, right? Like if I make it, I'm trying to think of an example of a joke. I should prepare one for next time I do this. Why did the chicken cross the road? Oh, this is a great example. Why did the chicken cross the road? Just a side note, sorry, I just got distracted. Side note, yesterday Becca Stevens sent me a text saying that she literally saw a chicken cross the road. It's crazy, isn't it? It's true. So why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side, yeah? Oh, wow. So, the chicken crossed the road to get to the other side. Now, if you've heard that joke before, you'll be like, okay, yeah, I get that. So it's like, why did the chicken cross the road? And the one I heard in the playground was like, don't ask me, ask the chicken. And that's like, it's a step forward because it assumes you've heard the first answer, so it would be funny for you not to hear the first answer, but instead for you to hear the second answer, but it's connected to the first answer. It's exactly the frog thing. It's like the more you explain it, it's like, okay, you know, it's all theoretical. But the same thing happens in music. The same thing happens with harmony. And one of my favorite kind of delights and phenomena that I've observed with my audiences in general is that I can make a sort of musical joke from time to time, and people tend to laugh. But it's not entirely clear why. Like, nothing was overtly said. It just is the thing. I mean, okay, a clear example of this, for example, is if we go, hoo, ch, ha, ha. Okay, here we go. Hoo, ha, ha, hoo, ha, hoo, ha, hoo, 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 ha, 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 ha. That's it. You see it? That's the thing. You think I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it. No? And it all happens in the blink of an eye. Within like 4/10 of a second, you're like, and you've had an experience, and the experience is of you seeing one thing, but it actually goes the other way. It's the same as the soccer thing. Is that you have that experience. And the thing that I love so much about building trust with a group of people like this is that we actually get to build on previously iterated versions of this kind of humor and language, and as the language evolves, it's sort of like to be interesting and to be engaging or funny, we sort of find the edges together as a group. It's like a communal exercise. So when we were talking earlier on about classical composers over the last 1,000 years, sort of continuously adding color and adding elements and new ways of creating tension, creating release, the way I think of this is it's almost like, you know, a generation comes and they figure out a language that's like, this is our language, this is for us. And then the young ones come up and think, it's all that old stuff, come on, we've got to do something new. And it's a bit like looking for something that's funny again, like looking for some new threads to pull on, like new ways of doing things. And here's the thing about being original. Here's something I would say about being original. I think that it's misunderstood. Sometimes people think of being original as you have to come up with whole new concepts, whole new ideas, whole new atoms. But I think of being original as you recombine things. You don't reinvent, you recombine. It's like all the things you need are there. But it's just about the order in which they appear. That's the thing that gives you the tickles, right? Because if I play you a sound you've never heard in your life with no reference point, it's not funny or meaningful or even emotional. Maybe it's like surprising, but you don't have a narrative you can connect it to. And as a musician, I think your job is to build a network of connections with a group of people. And actually, a really interesting way of doing things is to take something that is familiar and then slightly flip it on its head. So, somewhere over the rainbow, if I go. For example. Thank you. I don't know what I just played, but what I do know is that the process of me playing that is a perpetual balance between something that I know you will understand and expect and will make you feel, oh, I can follow, and something that makes you feel a bit disoriented and makes you go, whoa, you know? And then navigating between these things using some of the principles we described earlier, like strong motion and choosing particular chords that feel a particular way, whatever. I might do it one more time and talk as I go about what I'm doing, because I think that might be interesting to you. Let's begin in C. All of those notes so far, they all exist in these 5 notes on this side. It's all quite bright. And here, we've got our note that goes. There's a sweetness to that, isn't there? It feels like, oh, it's a little warmer. And also it has direction. It's the first note that's like that. And it's the B flat from over here. So there's a little bit of darkness. It's implying we're moving to the darker side of the key, which is F, the next door neighbor of C. So I understand the significance of that note. If, for example, I went way up, high, that's E flat. So, completely different world. Now, a helpful thing to learn when you learn harmony is where it's safe to pivot into these unfamiliar chords. If I started somewhere with the rainbow and I went, if I'm in C, and I started over the rainbow going, so, Then it's like, what? There's no, I haven't set up my punchline very well. It's just like just the punchline or something. I mean, you can if you want, you can do whatever you want. But this, to me, feels a little like a wasted opportunity to tell a story. And every good story begins and ends somewhere that feels like there's some kind of resolution, right? You begin in a place and you depart and you kind of return. At least a lot of the great old stories are like that. Way up high. This was like a moment I could probably move away safely without throwing you off too much. Way up high. Just a little bit of something. I just did a B flat sussy chord, which uses A flats and E flats and B flats and Fs. So this is like all from the darker side of the circle of fifths, right? So you've gone from F major high to kind of A flat majory world, and the last thing I'm thinking about when I'm improvising is this thing, by the way. But this is a helpful reference just to understand the principles of the light and the dark. And as I go, I'm painting. A little bit of dark over here, and then a little bit of sunshine, and a little bit of sweet, maybe even more bit of sweet. Home. Now let's go cryptic, and then peaceful with the direction. What's the direction? It's there, and a bit of irresponsibility, and then sweetening, and we're back home. It's like that as a journey, like I don't need to explain it. I mean, I can try, but you feel it because there's just the kinds of tension and release. It's like, oh, that's familiar, that's, whatever. And the truth of the matter is that there's no exact science for this at all. It really comes down to your personality and taste. And that is all you. Like, you have to be the one to decide these things. Like, I can sit here and show you some cool voicings and cool shapes, and anyone can do that, but your taste is like, that's your North Star. So a lot of the practice of being a harmonist is not about scratching your head and figuring out all the different things you could play. It's actually just about following your nose and figuring out what lights you up and why. So for example, if I sing can you sing an F minor chord? Do you know what's interesting? Do you know what I've learned? Is if I sing an F major chord, you can do it. But F minor is harder. And I think it's probably because of the harmonic series. But anyway, that's F minor. So, now, if I ask just you over here to go, ooh, can you sing this note? Stop. Okay, keep going. Right. This, to me as a child, was just the ultimate thrill. You play a chord, like F minor, and you add notes to it. So, this was the chord we started with, and then you all sang. It's like, what are the properties of this note emotionally? To me, it's like, it's warm. It's central, because it's between these two notes. It's kind of like it's like a grounding pillar, like you put down it's like something in the middle, because it's literally in the middle of the chord, bang in the middle of the chord. But the emotional property is like, it's just a little bit warmer. You sang, and what the properties of this note? Well, this feels like more kind of like a bittersweet almost, isn't it? There's like a sort of longing thing, and it's that tension there. It's beautiful, isn't it? That as a feeling. So much of the practice that I went through as a child and still now is literally just playing chords and taking notes out, putting them in, and figuring out how that note changed my experience. So, for example, this note, right? This is an F minor chord, this is the note D. This is a really spicy note. Why? Because that interval and that interval, I think that's probably some of it. And also, if we look at the chart of this chord, F minor, you have A flat, E flat, B flat, F, C, G, and D in the chord. That's all the notes in the chord. And D is the brightest one, right? So I wasn't lying about that thing. It just feels bright, doesn't it? Now, here's the thing with pivoting. I mentioned pivoting earlier on. When you're improvising, it's good to know when to pivot. Some of the outside notes are cool places to pivot. So if I pivot on this D, what I mean by pivot is D is going to stay the same and everything else is going to change. So you sing that D. Right. Your note just completely changed color, right? Completely different. Because the properties that note hold are so different in those two chords. In an F minor chord, you know what a D, it's like light blue, you know. In this chord, which is such a good chord, it's one of the most beautiful chords in the world, I think. You're the root note. You're home. You're actually, that's what the chord is. It's a D major chord. But there's tension here. So you went from being the spiciest, most distant note to the middle of the whole sound note, D. That's your D is actually the home note. So the power of pivoting is just like astronomical. It's so cool to learn how to do that. And in Somewhere Over the Rainbow, it's the same thing goes. Rainbow way up high. So many options. The study of this is to sit down, play a song, and try every single chord you can think of. And you build relationships out of the knowledge of what these notes can do. And because you proved earlier on that there is a general sense that people feel somewhat similar ways about certain types of chords or extensions, that's when you start to play with the bluffing thing. You know, and you can twist people's expectations of what they expect to hear and solve problems in ways that make people come to life or surprise. So you can add energy and move energy around. There's a land. That's what you're expecting, yeah? There's a land that holds So if I go, there's a I've pivoted. I'm not here, I'm here. And this chord it's like, I think the most important thing you need to know is it's just far away from the original key. It incorporates notes that are distant climes, different lands. But the other thing is that there's a lot of tension in this chord, and it's here. That's the tension. So when I think about colourful chords, I don't just think about what notes are in the chords. I think about like the order that they come in. Does that make sense? Because it makes so much difference whether you play that chord, or if I reorganise those notes, that. It's quite a Keith Jarrett kind of voicing. It's just a good old-fashioned A minor 11, but the thing that makes it special is that, right? So beautiful. And this is the thing I geeked out with Herbie the day I met him in Montreux in Switzerland. Literally this, the exact thing. How much a minor ninth, this interval, can make a chord shine. So it's the notes that you want to add and the notes that are outside, but it's also the order in which those notes come. And then you have this capability as a musician and as an arranger and as a performer to take people on a journey and make them squirm and make them feel some stuff, you know? I think the important distinction here also to make is between improvisation and composition, because composition is when you have the luxury of sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to consciously build a thing. I'm going to make my like tower of sand, and I'm going to plan it out and revise it. Whereas improvisation is the same exact process, but in real time, with no way of reviewing your thing. So I would really recommend it for anyone who's a composer here of any kind, anyone who composes or writes their thing, to try improvisation and take it kind of seriously, because I think there's something to me that is it comes together so naturally when we think about it, when we improvise. There's also something very important about composition, and if you're an improviser here and you think, oh, I made an improviser, I don't really write, definitely write as well, because one distills the other, and it makes your own intuitions kind of available to themselves. You spot things about yourself that you didn't know. Think, oh, I didn't know I was that. I didn't know I was so cantankerous, was the word from over here. Or, like, I think I've learned how non-risk averse I am from harmony, actually. And like in some areas of my life, I'm quite risk averse. Like I don't want to do something that's crazy, wild, like put myself at a bunch of risk, or extreme sports or roller coasters. It's not really my thing. But harmonically, it's like I found out who I was a little bit. Like, oh, Jacob's this guy, you know? And what an amazing thing to learn who you are as a person from the craft that you're working on. And what I'm hoping is in all of this general description about harmony, that you will see little bits of yourself as available for you to learn and discover as we go through, because you just don't know who you are until you start making stuff. That's the reality. And chords and harmony are one way of doing it, but you can make so many different kinds of things, and that's the thing that the world almost requires of you the most, is to make the world that is really truly like you, rooted right to the ground of you. And I just didn't know. I had a sense of it. You know, you have a sense of who you are, but until you really start grafting and working and building things, you don't know. And so I would really just advocate a process of learning that is certainly both sort of heart and mind, but also gut, you know? Like you, the grounded you, makes decisions for reasons you will never understand. The heart will interpret those and flower them, and the mind will try and figure it all out. And I think we have the kind of culture that is so skewed. The mind people are rewarded above all others. You think, you know, scholarships and university degrees and doctorates and everything. But actually, the most necessary people in the world right now are people who are native to the heart and the gut. Because these two pieces of equipment are way more ancient and way more grounded than the mind, and also way wiser. There's a really amazing book called The Inner Game of Tennis, which I have spoken about before. Has anyone read this book? Oh, you should all read it. It's quite short. It's brilliant. It's by this guy called Timothy W. Galway. And the book is about kind of this exact thing. There's self-1 and self-2, he describes. And self-1 is the sort of like mind, figure it out, calculate it. And then self-2 is the kind of like the child who just kind of knows what is right, actually. And there's so many amazing metaphors in the book about learning a craft. And the main metaphor is tennis, and how a lot of kind of traditional ways of learning tennis come about when it's like, okay, try really hard. I'm really calculating, I'm concentrating, I'm thinking about the strategy, and my arm gets tight, and my hand gets tight, and I squint my eyes, and all of my machinery is just like unavailable to it be in the flow. Because I'm like trying so hard to get the thing right that I just can't, I miss the ball. But then there's this thing where there's just this deeper thing that it already knows what is for you. It's like a broadcasting who you are for the world, and knows exactly how to get what you need. That actually, given a little bit of space, it knows exactly where to put the ball. And that's not to say that one can exist without the other, but let's get the priorities right. Like the mind is here to serve the heart, right? The heart is here, and the gut is here to say, okay, this is me. I am me. I'm just me. And the mind is here to just facilitate the parts of you where it can help to grow and evolve and to understand and all sorts of things like that. And passing things up through the mind and back again is a really beautiful way of learning anything. And it's crucial. And I was always been the kind of person who loves those kinds of frameworks. So, you know, the Russell circumplex model, that crazy emotion diagram, which I'll bring up again, this is like not helpful to the heart, but it's helpful to the mind, and the mind is helpful to the heart. So sometimes translating some of these things into more intellectual terms can actually be interesting and helpful, even if we're like, oh, I don't like that, that's wrong, I disagree. It's like, great, then your heart is just getting more and more available to the materials that surround you. So to me, when we think about harmony, which is ultimately the connection between things, through dissonance, through consonance, agreement, disagreement, and it's this unifying thing that says, okay, we can make this feel something. Not only the good feelings, not stuck only in the bad feelings, but actually something that incorporates from both sides of that kind of coin. I think we're in quite a juicy place, and a place where our intuitions can play like a more foundational role, and we build trust with ourselves as well as with each other. And this is the thing I was saying about I didn't know who I was till I started making things. It's like taking a risk creatively and pulling it off is one of the most rewarding things you can ever do. Ever. Especially if it's in front of people. You know, because you're like, let me try this thing, I have no idea what's going to happen. And then if it hits and it works, you're like, wow, man, I can do anything. It feels so powerful. Like when we played Sleigh Ride yesterday. You know, it's like, what if we just, you know. And I've really learned not just to allow those intuitions, but to like actively prioritize them, because I don't know, it gets me out of my brain and into my body, into my intuitions, and it demands my form switches. It demands I kind of need to think different. And going back to this idea of sort of outthinking or bluffing or getting away from the thing, like we're all perpetually as people evolving and iterating on the sort of, it's a weird thing to say, but like the operating system that we're running on as people. Like we have this circuitry that runs, but the only way it evolves is if you give it those little challenges and take those risks. So ultimately, risk is a beautiful thing to explore, and the only person who really knows where those thresholds are for all the aspects of your life is you. You know, musical risk is one thing, physical risk is another, vulnerability risk and availability risk and financial risk and all these other things. They're all kind of different from each other. But I think music, one of the reasons I think art is so important in the world is it's one of the safest places for us to figure out who on earth we are. Right? We get to ask a question. Am I this? Am I this? Yeah. What happens if I, you know, like, and you can write a song from the perspective of anybody. It could be from you or someone else or someone imaginary or from nobody or from multiple people or from the perspective of, like, you can kind of move your vantage point around. You can play any character, be any person, and no matter who you play, you'll always find a bit of yourself. You'll always grow a bit of yourself. So, yeah, I definitely sort of encourage brazen, bold, raggedy risk in general, and for the sake of today's class, harmonically, because not only is harmony such an intricate and deep world, it's also extremely simple. It's just notes together, and the only real rule is, do you like it? And the only person who can really study what feels good is you. And hopefully some of the stuff that I've just said has given you a little bit of stuff to think about with regard to ways of making tension and releasing it, ways of being courageous to try other things, areas and techniques for swinging out of proportion and back to proportion and all such things. And obviously, I could talk forever and a day about all of this. But I'm actually curious if there are any questions. And maybe we can spend the rest of this session, which I think is it 20 minutes? Yep. Yeah, 20 minutes just doing some questions. Does that sound good? Let's see, let's take one from you here, right in the middle. Yeah.
So when you were mentioning about tension and release, about subverting expectations, home and away from home, for me, a lot of the music I make evokes an emotion of maybe nostalgia. And I know that emotion is a very strong emotion felt by many people when they listen to music. So I was curious, like, what your perspective on that is relative to your frameworks of thought.
Yeah, it's a great question. Wow. So nostalgia kind of draws a line from the past into the present, right? That at its nature. At its heart, it's the thing I was saying where it's like, I know this from a long time ago, but it feels kind of resonant now, like it feels new now. It's a hard thing to break down musically. I don't know if that's the question, but I think the things that I feel nostalgic about musically are just things that remind me of things when I was a kid. Like it's kind of inescapably true. Especially things that had visual reference, so like a film score. Oh, so nostalgic. Like everyone knows that feeling. I made a playlist of all the music I could remember listening to before I was the age of 10. And it's crazy to go through and listen to it because the strangest things were inspiring to me. Like it was like this particular level of a Zelda game. like was like really nostalgic. You know, so like when I hear this is like one of the most nostalgic things in the world to me, Jacob, is right. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's like, why is it nostalgic? Mostly because I know it really, really well from playing all those games when I was 9. But also I think there's a simplicity to it that allows me to emote easily with it. It's repetitive, which also feels kind of like maybe nostalgia friendly. Yeah, I don't think it's something you can engineer musically, but it's a special thing when it comes about. And I think going back to the oldest inspirations in your life is actually a really good place to look for inspiration, because most everybody will be chasing in some way, shape or form the feeling that they had when they were really small. And so, yeah, getting to know those references is actually a really helpful and cool exercise.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take someone from the middle. You can decide who. Yes, you.
Hi.
Hey.
I just have a question about reharmonization.
Yeah.
For me, whenever I take a song and that I know well or that people know well, it's really hard for me to get out of the mindset of like, I can't change the chords of the song because this is how the song's supposed to go. So what advice would you give to someone like me to get out of that mindset of like, this is how it's supposed to go, and if I play any other chord that's not these chords, it sounds wrong?
Yeah. Well, what you're describing is maybe less of a musical problem and more of a like human problem, or like a psychological problem. Not a problem, but just an interesting opportunity. I think. No, really. I think in a sense, you don't know where the lines are until you cross them. So cross all the lines. Like go further than you want to go. Make it, that's horrible, or whatever. Go far. Play the chords that are wrong, and then move the notes around until they feel slightly more right, you know, and find where the line is for you. I can definitely think of things that, like times I went too far. A lot of times I went too far, but there's no way I would have ascertained the sort of harmonic understanding that I sort of now operate with if I hadn't done that. So yeah, don't be risk averse, especially when you're when you're just playing like you with you. Again, I think the most interesting forms of kind of surprise or dissonance aren't 100% different from the thing you know. They're usually like a little bit different. So keep one note the same and change a different note. You know what I mean? And see if you can find those things in harmony that just make you go, oh. And it's like a departure from the thing you know enough. And the only way to know that is just by trying stuff out and going. But I also think some songs survive reharmonization better than others. So like a song like the Flintstones, for example, is like it's pretty kind of resolute. Like it's just like again and again. That's basically the whole song. So the reason I wanted to arrange that song is because it's like I trust that it will just survive my general discrepancies at large. But I think there are other songs that I don't want to change the chords because they're just kind of too beautiful. There's no need to change. Like a song like God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, for example. Like that. No one's going to do a better job of that than Brian did. It's perfect song. So I would definitely also apply taste and or caution with reharmonization, because I think it can be really, really funky and fun and everything. And then also sometimes you just need to play the song as it is, right? But definitely cross all the lines in your questing to find what feels right for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Let's take a question from this section.
As an amateur pianist, I feel really comfortable in the feeling and the emotion. And when I'm improvising, I can hit a note that I really like. I'm like, ooh, that's good. But then I can't recreate it later. And so what I'm curious about is, obviously, one needs to just practice and just work on this a lot. And there's some frameworks, like the circle of fifths, like triads, like the harmonic series that you explained today. I'm curious, like, what other strategies do you have for, and especially like amateur musicians who don't have huge amounts of music theory background, Like once you get that, like, yeah, like you hit it and you like it, how do you then pursue it and integrate it and have like a relationship with it so you can then recreate it? Because the issue is so that as I'm improvising, I don't want to always be in the spur of the moment. I want to also have a vision and move there.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the first step in it is to notice when you feel the thing. You know, so you might play a note and go, oh, that just pinged for me. Like, that is an important step, because I think the step before that is not knowing whether something is pinging for you. So at that moment, it's sort of like, you can I think get to know the style of ping that you had. For me as a child, it was kind of like, oh, that ping felt kind of bright, or like that ping felt kind of dark, or I didn't like that ping, that was just disgusting or something. And I think that for me the process was simply trying to identify the type of feeling that it was where I saw it, and if I could hold it in place and be like, why do I feel like this with this thing, and just play with the notes, then I sort of have a sense of, like, maybe it's because this note's here, or maybe it's because this. If I take this note out, then do I still feel the same way? You know, and I think it's important essentially to hop between the two modes of transport. One being free flow, go, just find the thing, and the other being more about stopping and witnessing what's going on. And I think that one of the luxuries of playing for yourself or playing in a practice room is you get to sit down and play, and as you go, you do have the luxury of saying, okay, let me stop there. Why don't I like this? Why do I like this? What about this do I want to remember? And you don't need to put a name on it, like, oh, that's a super, ultra, hyper, mega, Metalydian scale or something. You can just say, oh, this is that chord. I remember that chord. And the main piece of work you do is by saying, that I know about. Like, this is a feeling I know. I remember this feeling. Like, what was this chord again? I remember there was a chord like this that when I first heard this chord. I thought, oh, I didn't know what to call it. When I first heard it, I thought, like, but it's that sound again. It's that sound again. Oh, it's that feeling. It's like if you go. That feeling, like, oh, that feeling again. Yeah, right. And then at a certain point, someone might point out to you, oh, that's a minor chord 4. Or someone might not point it out to you, but you remember the shape of it, or a combination of the two. And then I think gradually, the way I did it, which is the only thing I can really speak to, is just you gradually amass a sort of vocab of things that you care about. Like, I remember you. I remember you from before. Like, this is a feeling I remember. But I can't tell you how many times I've had a feeling, and this goes for non-musical things, I've had a feeling in my life, I'm like, oh, man, I wish I could, like, keep this feeling. I want to put it in a bottle and come back to it later. I want to, like, eat this for breakfast. I want to, like, you know, it could be the feeling a person gives you, or a feeling of the taste of a food, or the feeling of being in Costa Rica, whatever it was. And it's like, you can't keep it in a bottle. You can't do it. It has to come again naturally. It has to come up again naturally. At its best, you can't contrive these things, but what you can do is when you're having the feeling, it'd be like, I see you. There it is again. And gradually build a map of those feelings. So in my life, I can think, oh, like there's a particular kind of freedom I might feel sometimes, or a particular kind of disobedient thing, or patient thing. I was like, wow, I really want to remember the feeling of being this patient. I'm never normally this patient. It's like, no matter how much I try and write it down on a piece of paper, which I do all the time, you can't stick. But if you've identified, it's like the thing of mind, heart, and gut again. It's like, put it down into your gut, and then your gut will remember it, and then when necessary, your mind can measure it. But the main work, I think, is about, I'm having the experience, and I feel the experience. You know, that's like 80% of it. And then the mind can sometimes be like, if helpful, that's actually called this. It's like, oh, thanks, I'll remember that. Okay, go away, leave me to my life. You know, that kind of thing. Cool. Okay, maybe it's time for a couple more questions. Let's take one from the back. You, in the, no, you, yes. No, yes, you, exactly. Yes. It's a hard thing to do.
You talked about the importance of risk and how you were on stage and you would try things just spur of the moment,
Yeah.
and it was successful. I think the big thing that surrounds risk is fear for all of us at the root of it. So
Yeah.
can you speak to a time when you risked on stage in front of thousands of people and it didn't go as expected, and how you navigate that, if that's happened?
Yeah. Never happened
Risk.
to me. So obviously, the more you risk, the more goes wrong in general. I think qualifying what wrong is important. On stage, for example, if I try something and it doesn't go to plan, I don't think of that as wrong. I've come to not think of that as wrong. If I am playing something and I hit the wrong note or whatever, it's like, okay, life goes on. You know, everyone's going to be fine. I think that, yeah, like I'm thinking about hecklers, for example. I've been thinking about people being like, boo, or like, you suck, or whatever it was to be, which really doesn't have to be very much, because you're all lovely and people are quite nice to me, actually, in general. But sometimes someone will just be disruptive. You know, someone's going to go like, just do something silly, or shout a word that's like, okay, great. You know, so it's like, I think at first I used to be put off by these people. Oh, can you just stop? I'm trying to concentrate. You know, but if I tighten up, it's like the tennis thing. If I tighten up, then everyone tightens up. There's just no two ways around it. So now, if someone kind of, and this is not a challenge to you, by the way, I'm just saying, if someone heckles or shouts something out, in general, one of the best ways of dissolving it I found is to like incorporate their idea and get everyone to do it. Because then if everyone's doing it, then they just kind of lose their significance. It's like, oh, actually, I feel quite seen, you know, or something. When I play solo shows, I basically have no set list, so the whole thing is a risk. And like yesterday, when I played Sleigh Ride, I mean, the stakes are pretty low. You guys love me. But I've played like that kind of, like, I've done these, you know, stuffy corporate gigs, and I got all these execs. So, yeah, and I'm on the stage and I'm playing this thing, and it's like, in that environment, it's like risk is even more important, because they need to see that they can't take themselves as seriously as they're doing. You just cannot do it. You know. Right, that's kind of thing. It's just like, you have to get people out of their own minds. But I think the thing of being comfortable is like maybe a big part of the thing, because it's like, if I'm comfortable making a mistake or doing whatever, then you're comfortable too. And like maybe that just sounds like kind of oversimplified, but I just think that going back to that moment when I had the one-man show and I just walked outside of the circle, like that was probably one of the most risky things I did, because that show was very on the rails. It was very kind of like, this is the structure of the song and this is the plan for the loops, this is the thing. And so for me to like go outside the circle and leave it go and not know what's going to happen next was a really scary thing to do. But the reward was the audience choir. So it's just like, you don't really get anything of value without taking a risk of some kind. You have to perpetually put yourself in situations where you don't quite know what's going to happen. And I would say I don't believe in the kind of paradigm of you need to sort of struggle and suffer to make great work or make great art. I think a lot of my best art comes from when I'm feeling really comfortable enough to take a risk. And fear that you're describing feels like it can really easily be misconstrued for like the suffering and the heaviness part. And at the very beginning of the section I spoke about how actually harmony unifies dissonance and consonance, and both are welcome, and you can pull from some of the darkest places, and I do when I play. But I would also say that there's something about being on a stage that kind of brings things to the fore, and if you like. Yeah, if I go on stage all suffering, I'm just like, I'm closed and I'm in a shell or whatever, it's not necessarily the most opportune kind of environment for me flowing. It's usually like a combination of the two things. I can think of times where I was really nervous or freaked out or really tired or just like not stable in a way, just sort of thinking, I don't know what's going to come out of me. And I rely really heavily on like my emotional and energetic flow going. Like if it's not going, like you'll just see me just disappear. Like I can do a show, but I think, I was saying some of this yesterday, I think, but the challenge with embracing risk is to kind of do it little and often, I think, and to help the energetic system understand, you're going to be safe if you do this. Let's do a little risk at first, and once you've got a taste of that, we'll do a little bit of a bigger one, then we'll do a little bit of a bigger one, and with the audience choir, for example, every single advancement of the audience choir was me taking kind of a big risk. Like it got to the point where the audience was expecting the choir, and this is now kind of the situation. So the first time I did this thing, you know, it was just a car crash. No one understood it. I hadn't set it up right. Like this thing of chromatic and diatonic, it's such a nuanced thing. It requires so much trust and common knowledge and permissioning. And the first time I did it, it was just like, and half the people went down, half the people went up, and it was just like, but the thing, my training was to not be freaked out and be like, okay, let's do it again. Let's do it again, you know? No, okay, let's do it again, you know? But to make you feel comfortable in the thing. So yeah, and that's definitely not to say that I live a fearless life. Like I think every artist would probably tell you that they're very fearless in certain aspects of life, and in other aspects of life they have way more fear, and they're much more trepidatious. And I think aiming to have a life free of fear entirely is very unrealistic. But going back to the thing I was saying before, I think art and music is a really meaningful and valuable place to explore fear. Like, what is the most frightening thing to you? Play it, you know? Like, write it, go into the dark bit, because the worst thing that can happen is the audience goes, you know? And then you wake up the next day, everyone carries on. There's an interesting quote by Evie Wiesel, I think is their name. And the quote is, and you've probably heard this, but the quote is, "The opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference." And to me, this has been so helpful in recognizing fear of other people's opinions, because this is a lot of the fear that we feel is, what if me and them doesn't, you know, thing. It's one part of the fear, but I think that recognizing that hating something is a form of loving it is really valuable. If something's not for you, if it's just that's just not for me, then you're going to be indifferent to it. And I can think of things in the world where I'm like, it's not for me. Like tofu for me. I'm like, okay, it's fine. No offense to tofu if you're here, but I think like fundamentally, like if there's a musician I can think of, well, I have a problem with them, actively have a problem with them, then it's probably that I'm reacting to a part of myself, and I'm not reacting to, I don't even know them, you know? Like, no one knows people, really. It's like you're just projecting blah, 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 the whole time, and projecting onto everyone. So I think sometimes I've had to just recognize that. Like, if someone is adoring, or if someone is or whatever, it's like, it's okay. It's just, they're having an experience of themselves, and that's okay. There's a quote that's like, "Stop trying to be liked by everybody, you don't even like everybody." And I love that so much. But it's just like, I think so much of the fear that we feel, and I've felt over the years, is, but what if they don't get it? Or like, but what if I'm rejected? And what if all the things we all fear? And understanding at the foundation of that everyone's just, no one knows what's going on. Everyone's just trying their best. And I'm just making music. Like, this is not, it's not life or death. But the reward for taking a risk, going through the fear, is also that all the people who see you, who feel the same kind of fear and see you go through it, they all get liberated by it. And that's the special thing about music too, is you get to, like, as an artist, you're a mirror to people at your best. And so what you give people the opportunity to see is themselves in a different way. That's the most valuable thing I think that a performer can give you. And if you can see me take a risk that reflects a part of you, and you come with me through the fear, then you've come through the fear. And you get to take that into your own life and alchemize it. And I do believe that this happens even on a harmonic level, even something as mere as that. You get the sense of the liberation, you get the sense of the surprise, and you get the sense of the sort of faith in the direction of travel. And I think it's like maybe my best skill on stage is being unafraid. It's a more important skill than like knowing about Lydian or something. It's also one that I've probably worked the hardest on. Like it's something that you just have to keep on practicing and working on, and you go through those days where you're like, and you come out of them and whatever, and gradually you build faith and confidence with yourself, and then hopefully you have the opportunity to give that confidence and faith to other people. You know. Yeah. Thank you so much for a lovely couple of sessions, lovely few hours. Go and get some sunshine, get some food, and I'll see you very soon, everyone. Cheerio.